the left and Moy stayed onside. Here's Mounier. 2-0 Huddersfield Town on the opening day of the Premier League. Deplatra's forward. Deplatra's got the better. Yeah! And Laurent Deplatra scores. Laurent Deplatra scores.
It's in the box. It's in there. It's in there. It's there. It's on the board. It's in there. The King of Alistair.
Hello and welcome to the drive-in. We've had our international break and rest from all things Huddersfield Town. And after scoring 2 late goals to qualify for the World Cup, I feel like I can no longer refer to Scotland as the Huddersfield Town of international football. But on to domestic matters, and Lee Grant is set to enter into potentially his most perilous period of his Huddersfield Town career, wrought with pitfalls galore, as Huddersfield Town have 7 games in 22 days. The first one up is Mansfield Town as Huddersfield head down the M1 to Field Mill in the Battle of the Towns. Matt and Killer here to guide you through what you might need to know before the game. So, Killer, how are we doing, mate? I said that in an Aussie accent, a bit of an Aussie tonight. All right, Mike.
Well, I'm getting ready for that tonight, Matt. We'll go with Australian. Obviously, I should start tonight. Maybe we need a prediction for that as well. Maybe we need to chuck that in at the end of this. Just to keep it topical. 3-1 Australia. More optimistic than me, or maybe not, because as an Australian passport holder, I can't lose, can I? Really? I'll tell you what, Matt, I hate Scotland, having lived there for a year. Honestly, I lived there when England failed to qualify. I don't know if you remember the Croatia game where there was an own goal. Was it Gary Neville passing it back to Paul Robinson? I can't remember what the mess was.
Bringing it back to Australia.
Honestly, but I still haven't got over Scotland celebrating England not qualifying for Euros. So I'll tell you what, it was a nice finish by.
It's all they used to have, unfortunately.
I know. Well, I'm bitter still about it, Matt. So that's nearly 20 years ago now. So I cannot be happy for them for qualifying for this one. But I feel like that's good reason. However, back to proper football.
Yeah, and welcome to all our Scottish viewers and listeners to the podcast as well.
Yeah, well, that and all, but it's all right. They'll be on by second week of the competition. We know what's going to happen there.
Here he goes.
But no, I'm just looking forward to Town. Proper football being back, Matt. It's nice going into an international break, actually looking forward to the next game without thinking of it being a must-win, because I think that's where we were at the last international break. It's quite a change for us looking at the first game back after this one, and looking at it, Matt, no new injuries from the lads that have been away on international duty. So that's another positive to start off the podcast with.
We're unsure about that just yet, aren't we? Well, that might reveal itself. There's a couple of question marks there, isn't there, over Dion Charles and Radinho Balka? But we'll kick on. So Mansfield Town. So usually what we'll do is we'll speak to a Mansfield Town fan, but unfortunately we never get to speak to a Mansfield Town fan because there's not one in our in the content creators group that I'm in. So if anyone knows a Mansfield fan we can ever speak to, let us know. I'm sure Dean Smith, who listens to the pod, knows lots of Mansfield fans, so he could probably even cover it himself. Next time, Dino, I'll ask you. But so Mansfield, Killer, how have Mansfield been getting on? They've lost the last game before the international break to Northampton. Lost to us in the Virtue Trophy, but I don't think we should look too deep into that considering the team that Mansfield put out. But prior to that, their form was actually pretty good.
They're a very League One team, Matt. And obviously with Clough has been there 5 years now. As of last week, I think it was his 5-year anniversary, which is quite phenomenal, isn't it, in this day and age? They're a team that have got better year on year, maybe not every time with the league position at the end of the season, but just generally building slowly. Their under-18s won in the FA Cup. I can't remember what round it was yesterday, against Barnsley, and they're going into the next round against Arsenal. And Clough was talking about that in his pre-match press conference, showing how far the team's come, both on the field and off the field. And I always, apart from that time I went down there and Chris Greenacre destroyed us, Matt, I quite like Mansfield. Again, okay, playoff season's a little bit different. The penalty shootout there, they weren't too happy with it, were they? But Mansfield as a team, I've got nothing against them. It's nice to see them doing okay, especially because it's only an hour and 20 minutes from here. But the form is weird. Obviously, they're doing all right if you look at the table. And over the last 6 games, they are 6th in the form table with 3 wins, 2 draws and a defeat. But they're only 4 points better off than those 19th on the form table. That's what League One is at the moment. It's a bit of a fight, isn't it, for positioning at the moment, trying to chase down or hold on to playoff positions. They're a strange outfit, Matt, in that they've been quite fortunate in the fixtures that they've had nobody really difficult to play just yet. The wins have come against Exeter, Orient, Blackpool, and Rotherham. And Rotherham, okay, top of the form table at the moment, which surprised me having seen that. But there was a few weeks ago where they were pretty awful. They got they got a win at Luton away, which is probably the best on paper. But that was Wilshire's first game, and obviously when a new manager comes in, it's not a bad time to play them. They also beat Plymouth before we beat Plymouth, so that tells you exactly where Plymouth were at that point. So I'm looking at who they've played so far, Matt. Mansfield, okay, they've got the points and they're above us and they're doing eighth in the league and doing fine in that regard. They've not had any tests other than Stevenage at home, which finished as a 1-1 draw. They have lost at home this season against Doncaster 2-1. But other than that, they've been pretty good. So this is a tough place to go and play. And like you say, very, very different, worlds away. Ignore what happened in that Virtue Trophy game because they had 2 starters in their team from the game prior to that. Other than that, it was very much a reserve team. So this Mansfield team isn't one we've seen yet this year. Again, it's a League One team that we're going to have to beat the likes of if we want to do well going on towards the end of the season.
Yeah, so their form is like you say, very streaky. You know, they started the season 2 defeats, and then had 4 wins in a row. Then they lost to Everton in the Cup, drew with Lincoln, which isn't a bad point. Then lost to Wickham when Wickham weren't very good. Actually, sorry, no, I'll take that back. Wickham, just as I think there was the transition to Michael Duff. Then they lost to Harrogate in the EFL Trophy. Drew with Mansfield in the league. Drew with Stevenage in the league. Lost to Port Vale. Beat Rotherham, drew against Newcastle under 21s, and then lost on penalties. Like you say, beat Luton, then drew at home to Wigan, and then won against Plymouth, won against Harrogate in the FA Cup, and then lost 2 games in a row. Lost to us, and then lost to Northampton. So they seem to do things in bunches. But the international break is always a good time to kind of restart, isn't it, and draw a line. And Huddersfield Town are notoriously quite sluggish when they come back from the international break. I'm sure there's a lot of clubs that could link to that as well. So Mansfield are an interesting team. I think when you look at them in terms of statistics, they've got Will Evans, who's top scorer with 4. He's a player that we've talked about on this podcast for a good 12 months. He's a player I quite like. He came from Newport, didn't he, in League 2? He's a good player. Reece Oates is the next on 3. Tyler Roberts with 3. In terms of assists, they don't really have anyone massively assisting. They've got Aaron Lewis with 2 and Nathan Mariah-Welsh with 2. Again, Reece Oates is up there. And then goals and assists, Will Evans is at the top with 5. So not massively creative and fluent, if you like. And they're just very efficient. Like you say, very League One, very tough to break down. If you get in front against them, they are scrappers, and they will scrap to get back rather than playing like through you. But to be honest with you, when we did play them in the Virtue Trophy, I was quite impressed with some of the football they played. I thought they actually played the ball on the ground. They looked to progress the ball on the ground and forward, and actually thought they played some nice football. So they're not a rough and tumble League One side either. They can get the ball down and play it, but they will play in the right areas as opposed to trying to play out from the back and having Murray Wallace Cruyff turning on his penalty box, etc. So they're not quite at that level. But I think after a couple of minutes, Killer, it's probably very early, but I think we can go into the next section, can't we? So Huddersfield Town and Mansfield, and we'll maybe take a quick look at how we expect these teams to sort of line up, and we'll come to the next section because I think I can hear the school bell ringing, Killer.
Oh, geography is all that we ever were. Oh, geography is all that we ever were.
Yes, it's time for another pitch geography lesson with Mr. Grant, and class is in session. So we're going to look at how we think Huddersfield Town and Mansfield Town will line up. We've just briefly talked about Mansfield and their pros and cons and what they like to do. So we'll have a look at them in a little bit more detail now in our pitch geography lesson. But as always, we'll start with, I think we'll start with Huddersfield Town because we generally do start with Town. We've had we have the benefit of the press conference. I listened to it in the gym this morning. And whereas Lee Grant didn't really go into a lot of detail, there wasn't anything where we've drilled down in there, but he did mention in terms of injuries and personnel that there's going to be decisions to be made on Radinho Balca and Owen Goodman because they both had long transatlantic flights. Radinho Balca started for Suriname in their first game, in the first victory. and then he was on the bench. He came off after 82 minutes, and it's not clear whether there was a fitness issue or not there, but he was on the bench for the next game against Guatemala, which they lost 3-1, but they have qualified for the playoffs to get to the World Cup, and Radinho Balca came on after 62 minutes in that game. Owen Goodman was away with Canada, so that was nice to see Owen Goodman get his first call-up for Canada when he did his interview, Killer, with Huddersfield Town. He said, didn't he, when he's got links to sort of quite a few different places, but he grew up in Canada, or he spent 6 or 7 years in Canada, didn't he, as a kid, and he's always felt a connection to Canada and wanted to play for them, which I think if he was ever good enough to England, would be good enough to play for England, would be a shame. But he has played for Canada under 20s, and he went over to play for them as well. So congratulations to Owen Goodman on that one. But there will be a decision to be made in the goal, and I think he might keep Owen Goodman in, Killer. I think he's looking for. I know he said he's got 2 number ones, and if he could play one in one and one in another, but I don't think you can really do that with goalkeepers. I think with goalkeeping, you need to build up a rhythm, and you need to build up a level of fitness and understanding and match fitness, not just fitness. It's a different kind, isn't it? Actually playing games, and from a goalkeeping point of view, it's your judgment. You know, if you're not playing games, it's you coming out for the ball. Your judgment suffers. You know, you're coming out for the ball and saves. And if you're playing day in, day out, and then you're playing matches, you improve, and your judgment's quite sharp. But training's just very different to matches, and you never quite. And I know you're saving shots and everything, but there's not the same jeopardy behind every shot that you're facing in training, and it is slightly different. So I think as a goalkeeper, you have to build up, that head of steam with that run of games. So I would imagine he'll keep Goodman in goal for this one if he can, providing that he's not absolutely knackered or come back injured. So I think you're nodding. So I think you agree with Goodman.
Yeah, no, good. I think there was enough in the interview with Raj in the Heritage Suite. Lee Grant was speaking about Dion Charles was back in training on Wednesday, so he'll be fine. And then he spoke about obviously Goodman and Balker coming back, and I think they're both very different when you're looking at how likely they are to play. But just on Goodman's side of it, he said that he has got time, that there is Thursday. And like you say, Matt, as a keeper, he's not going to be, no matter how much training or game time he's got at Canada, he's going to be fine to play fitness-wise. It's more about if he's okay after the flight. With Goodman, though, Matt, it was the spark we were looking for, as Grant referred to it, against Plymouth. And again, it's hard, as we spoke about before, to pick out why defences and goalkeepers work better or worse, and why it works sometimes and why it doesn't others. Plymouth, for me, was the most positive performance of the season, and you have to get back to as much of that in the back line as you possibly can. And that starts with your number one. And for me, it's got to be Goodman. I don't even think it's a decision to make, to be honest. If he's standing and mobile, he's in goal for me on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. Looking at the rest of the team, so the centre backs again is interesting. I don't think Radinho Balca is going to play in this one. I think he'll be managed. I think what was quite telling was that he's mentioned Joe Lowe, and he was quite in the press conference. He was quite happy to sort of go on about how Joe Lowe and Murray Wallace are back in training. Joe Lowe's had a calf injury. Can't remember what was wrong with Murray Wallace. I think that might have been a calf as well. There's a lot of calf injuries going around at this time of year. So the centre-backs will be Feeney and I think Joe Lowe, and I think that'll represent a problem for us, and we'll go into the breakdown of the game later on. But that's not a change I'm overly comfortable with. But I think Sorensen keeps his place at right-back. I know Gooch is back in training, and I think if you ask me who would you prefer at right-back between Sorensen and Gooch, I think I would say Lyndon Gooch, because he just offers a little bit more defensively. But I think Sorensen's in a good run of form, which means you don't necessarily have to put Lyndon Gooch in just yet, and you can build him up a little bit more, and you can give him minutes from the bench. So for me, I think Sorensen probably starts at right back, because he does have a fairly decent understanding with Ben Wiles at the moment as well. And then Ruben Ruskin, I think he's definitely a lock-in for left back at the moment, because he's playing quite well. And I think what was interesting as well is in the press conference they spoke to Ruben Ruskin as well. And he basically said in the press conference, and he said something which I think pretty much I should bring up, Killer, because he basically, yeah, it didn't work when we were playing left wing, because I'm not a left winger, I'm a left back. I mean, if somebody had said that in pre-season, we could have saved a lot of heartache on here, couldn't we, Killer? Because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure someone said that way before we kicked off, and there was quite opposition, wasn't there, to my viewpoint from someone else in the
Not
preview.
me. Not
No,
me. Not
you.
me.
It
Just
wasn't you.
let's clarify that, because I also agreed. When Ruben Ruskin plays high and wide, there was always a moment when he got the ball and he didn't know what to do naturally, because he's not played that position before. He's a fullback, and that's what stood out time and time again when he was running direct to get the ball, when he was running towards goal. Absolutely fine. But if
Overlaps.
at any moment he got the ball stationary, he wasn't entirely sure
Yeah.
what to do. Eventually, he did decide and made a pass or made a run. But the problem is, at League One, at any level in professional football, you have to be at it from the off. You have to know what you're going to do before you get the ball, a bit like Kamashia does every time he gets it. Ruben Ruskin doesn't get that, doesn't have that, because throughout his entire career, he's played as a fullback. That's what he is, and that's why he did it. It's not a limitation on his ability. He could be a great left back for this club going forward, but he's never going to be a winger for me, Matt. And I think that's what you pointed out pre-season.
I did, and the other thing I pointed out as well was, why did we build the attacking fullback on the right when we already had two out and out attacking fullbacks on the left? That's something which has got me since pre-season, and I've never understood it. But here we are. But Ruben Ruskin will play left back. Central midfield's interesting. David Kasumu is kind of back in training, but he's not ready, and we don't really want to see Kasumu and Ledson, I don't think, in the same midfield. Although, if Joe Lowe isn't at the back and they are higher, then it could potentially be a little bit better, because they'll be breaking down and winning the ball. So I think we'll continue with Harness and Ledson in the middle of the park, and Harness is the one that we've gone on about recently, Killer, in that how important his passing from deep is. And I do think that when Herbie Kane or McGuane, whoever comes back first, is back and ready to to come into the team, I do think they'll sit back in, and Harness will then occupy this tucked in role from the right hand side again. But I think for now he's actually a quite good option that we've got in midfield. So Harness, Ledson for me, and Killer. I don't think there's any opposition from the
No,
two.
but Matt, if he does swap him back out wide right at any point, I'll be very upset, because for me, if you're asking who's been the best centre midfielder of the season so far, it's Harness in his very small sample of games. He also made Ledson look much better. I think Ledson plays better with Harness next to him, but it's going to be a very different proposition, and which I think we'll get in after we've gone through the teams. If it isn't Balker and it is Joe Lowe playing at centre back, I think that changed the dynamic of this entire game, what goes on in there. But for this week, it has to be Harness starting in there, doesn't it? I think that's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think Mikael Miller starts on the left as well. I think he'll be the starter. Look, Kamashia came on and did really well. He scored the goal, didn't he? But I think the more I see a Kamashia, the more I'm kind of thinking there are only situations where you want to throw him into, and that's when the game is quite open. Maybe when the opposition are chasing, or maybe when Town are chasing. But again, the opposition are more open. When the opposition sit back, Kamashia, as against Stevenage, against Blackpool, and he came on Exeter, didn't he? In those situations where he's not got the space and the ability to run into it, he kind of looked very limited, didn't he? But I think when in certain situations he looks electric, doesn't he? When he's got space to run into and an attack and come in from the left. So I think, depending on how the game goes, he may come on from the bench, but I think Miller starts, and I think Ben Wiles probably keeps his place on the right hand side. And I'm wondering long term about that then, Killer, because we've mentioned Harness just then. You like him in this midfield area. I think he might move back there, but Will Alves might actually, when he comes back from his injury, might actually be a decent option. I know people have said he likes to play inside left or at number 10, but in this very specific position, you are coming in field, and then when you do come in field like that, you are on your left foot. So it could be an option to maybe have Will Alves as that inside right here, who can come into that number 10 space onto his left foot and do things from there. So potentially that's something further down the line. But for now, I think it'll be Ben Wiles floating in. And then up front, I think Bojan Radulovic starts. Alfie May is still serving his suspension. So which leaves Dion Charles or Joe Taylor. I think if Dion Charles is fit, he starts. If he's not fit, Joe Taylor starts. I think that's how that'll go.
Again, I think that selects itself. I'm with you on the left-hand side with Miller getting the start this week, Matt. But I would have said, depending on what team we would have been facing, I think Ashia would have potentially deserved a start, being how good he's been last last couple of appearances. But like you say, Matt, he likes to have space to run into. So you want to play him in games where the opposing fullback will be going forward quite a bit. I don't think Mansfield will do that. They're very proficient. They're very organised, which is exactly what Kamashia isn't great against unless the game is being chased by the opponents. And I don't think that's this one just yet, Matt. So I'm with you across that 4. Entirely, like you say, Dion Charles, he has to start because he has been the most amazing striker we've had this year. Do you know what is surprising though, Matt? This Alfie May suspension feels like the longest suspension in the history of football. 3 games. 3 games it's been, but it's about 6 weeks. I know it isn't, just before everyone calls me out on that. But it just feels like it's been so long.
4 games as well, isn't it? Because he missed the Virtue Trophy with the foot injury. So it's like, but he could have played in that one. So it's, so he has technically missed 4, hasn't he?
But I wonder if Johnny Hogg's going to be on the bench, Matt. Do you reckon there's a shout there for Mr. Hogg? You don't?
No.
Do you think he'll get a substitute appearance on the bench before the end of the season?
No.
Okay.
Only if we suffer another injury crisis, which, to be honest, looking at 7 games in 22 days, this is why I said it's make or break at the start, because if we start falling like flies at this point, we're going to be in so much trouble, and Lee Grant's job will be in trouble because the results will turn as well. If they can't keep players fit, it's so key for him to be able to rotate and keep players fresh during this period. People like Mikel Miller, Joe Lowe's coming back from injury, Balker, Dion Charles, Boyan, Taylor, Alfie May, they're all going to be very key in this. But you look at the central midfield and there are not a lot of options there if either Harness or Ledsing get injured. You've got Gooch or Sorensen at right back, which you can rotate, and they will. Centre back, Murray Wallace has come back, but there's not a lot you can rotate with yet because Jack Watmore's still injured. Left back, Rowan and Ruskin, I think, will play at some point, or they'll both play a part. And I think when you look to Tuesday as well, when Town have got Luton, isn't it, on Tuesday? You may see a surprise at some point in this lineup. So maybe like a Sean Rowan, because he may have an eye on Tuesday thinking that there may be some players that may need to start. But I think with Lee Grant, he's currently living game by game. So much so at the minute that I don't think he can really afford to look too far into the future, because if he does and takes his eye off the present, with the way that the temperature is around the supporters, and we know Kevin Nagel listens to the heat on Twitter, etc., I don't think he can afford to do that because bad things could happen. On to Mansfield. So Mansfield Town. So in goal for them is Liam Roberts. Just choking on nothing, which is always pleasant. Liam Roberts, you will remember as the goalkeeper for Millwall in the FA Cup. Was it last season where he almost decapitated? Was it Mateta from Crystal Palace? He's in goal. So last season at Field Mill, Josh Karoma almost got his ankles broken by Christy Pym. So hopefully there's not a repeat from a Mansfield goalkeeper. At right back is generally Kyle Noyle, 29 years of age, former Stockport. So he left Stockport in the summer after making 80 appearances over a couple of seasons. Doncaster before that, and Cambridge before that. And he's made 81 appearances for Stockport, Doncaster, and Cambridge, which is very unusual, isn't it? So, so he will play right back, the 29-year-old. Centre back. So a slightly familiar name is Adeji Oshilaja. He was at Burton prior to Mansfield. So he was at Mansfield last season. He will play right-sided centre-back. He was at Burton before, so we've seen him at Burton. And before that, he was at Charlton as well, where he played in the Championship. So his name may be familiar to quite a few Town fans. So he will be playing right centre-back. The left-sided centre-back is Fraser Blake-Tracy, who has been at Mansfield for a couple of years as well now after signing from Swindon. The left back on the day will be McLaughlin, Stephen McLaughlin as well. So he's 35 years of age. He's made over 200 appearances for Mansfield over the last 5 years as well. Started 7 games this season, so he seems to have that left back slot nailed down. So they do, like I say, play this 4-2-3-1. In the midfield, and player we mentioned earlier, Aaron Lewis, sits in the pivot. He's your more creative one. And then you've got Jamie McDonnell, who does score a couple of goals. He's a younger player. He's on loan from Nottingham Forest at the minute. He was on loan at Colchester last season, but he's 21 on loan from Forest. And Aaron Lewis, I think, came off the bench. Did he come off the bench in the Virtue Trophy against us in the second half? He looked quite dangerous, didn't he, from set pieces, and he looked like he had one or two nice touches here and there. But he's made over 100 appearances for Mansfield over the last few years after signing from Newport, where he made over 100 appearances. So there's a lot of experience in the back line and midfield, which is why they're such quite a consistent side. It gets a little trickier as they get forward. Rhys Oates is the striker at the minute. He's got 3 goals and assists at the moment. They've signed him from Hartlepool in 2021, so he's been there a little while. He will play up front as a lone striker. Will Evans is a player, like we've mentioned before, that we quite like. He's tends to come in from the left-hand side at the minute, so he will come in from the left and look to get on anything that comes in at the far post. So he's more of an inside striker. And then on the right at the minute is Nathan Mariah Welsh, who is a 23-year-old who has been signed from Hibernian for Mansfield. So he's an interesting player that I've not seen before. So the last one remaining is number 10. And this is fairly good news for us, potentially, isn't it, Killer? That's Tyler Roberts is injured, so he won't be playing, we think, going into this game.
Yeah, well, Cloughie were talking about him. He suffered a groin injury against Northampton prior to the collapse in the last game where they did lose 2-1. And now Mansfield have got 3 number 10s in the squad, and 2 of them were out injured prior to that game, so they are struggling. My entire score prediction, Matt, has actually changed based on Roberts not playing, because he's that important for them. As we know, if you've got no action up top, if you can't get the ball to stick or you can't cause any threats up there, then it changes you even at the back. He's really, really important for them, and he'll be such a big miss for them. But they've still got to be pretty wary against them. The front 3 or front 4, depending on how they go about it, they're all quick and they play a very strange, like I say, League One style of football in that, Matt, they are pretty progressive at the back with the passes if they have to be, but they also look for the quick ball if it's on. So they do score a lot of goals, 1 or 2 touches. That's why you don't see many assists, Matt. It's normally kind of second ball shot straight away or breaking on the counter against teams that are pushed up high, with Evans really, really good at switching that ball across to the other side. It's a team that can score goals, and they can score goals across the front line, which is, to be fair, pretty similar to us, isn't it, really, where you don't have an out-and-out scorer. They've got a few guys that can chip in. So they're a decent outfit.
Yeah, so I think it might be George Maris who steps into to that role. I think he's the more likely one. Potentially they could play Max Dickoff, son of Paul, on the left wing, and Will Evans could move to number 10. But that's how we think Mansfield will line up. I think where this game hinges, Killer, for me, and we'll roll into the predictions a little bit. Where this game potentially hinges, again, Town have to be solid in midfield and be on top in that area, as always. That's a given. Ben Wiles does have to show up if he plays on that right wing. We need a little bit more from him. Miller, Asher, they have to be managed and rotated correctly on the left. But for me, I think where this game hinges, I'll just for those that are watching on YouTube, we're on the tactics board. If you're not on YouTube and you're listening, so the average position. So when you looked at the average positions of Huddersfield Town in the previous 2 games, I think what was quite key. So I'm just drawing it at the minute. They were like this on the board. So very advanced, very high. The back line was very high. Radinho Balca at left centre back was actually really high. Josh Feeney over the last 5 or 6 games, very, very consistent in his position at right centre back. Not too deep and not too high. He's actually really well positioned for a right centre back. Balca was higher because he's got the pace to step out. And then when you look back prior to Radinho Balca coming into the team and Joe Lowe being in the team, Joe Lowe is way behind at the back. And this has caused Town, I think, and Killer thinks, quite a few issues recently in that Joe Lowe is just too deep. And what that means is that usually means that Ryan Ledson then comes too deep. And then Ryan Ledson isn't in a position in midfield to win the ball and distribute like that we saw against Plymouth. And so that will affect Ryan Ledson, unfortunately. And previously it was affecting Kasumu, because Kasumu was the man who had to come back at one point there. And he wasn't then able to sort of knit the ball into midfield and make Ryan Ledson effective. So the issue with what I've got is if Joe Lowe comes back into the side, then Town are probably going to see less of the ball in the final third of the pitch. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why does a centre back make that much difference? It just does. It just does in the shape, and unfortunately, Huddersfield Town will end up shifting 10 yards deeper because of the introduction of that. And the same would go for Murray Wallace if Murray Wallace came in rather than Joe Lowe as well. It'd be the same thing again. Because of the lack of pace, they would be deeper. If Radinho Balka somehow is fit and plays, then Huddersfield Town will be higher. They will create more chances and they will get into the final third quicker and more efficiently. But I think Joe Lowe is going to start, and then that's where Town are going to find themselves not quite on top of this game killer. So I think Tyler Roberts potentially not playing is good for us. George Morris isn't a terrible option either. So I think that's how the game is going to line up. The two up front are interesting for us. I think that's where Joe Lowe's got to use that get out, and Town have got to use that get out in that Dion Charles will run the channels, and sometimes you may see in this game more long balls from Town than what you've seen recently, and that will simply be because Town will be too deep at the back. The pass into midfield isn't on, so therefore the channel ball may become an option. And I think if Town do that, then that'll be fine. It's when they start to try and pass and overpass in midfield and defence, that's where they'll get caught out, and the game will become a bit stodgy, as we say, Killer. But how do you see the game going as we start to wrap the show up?
I think you've nailed it there, Matt. Which I don't have much to change in what you've said. Just to add to it, in that I think if Joe Lowe plays, it's a much tougher game. I think Balka coming in the last couple of games has shown everybody why it is so important to have your centre back who can drive the ball out from the back. We look a total different team because of it. Our midfield unit worked, and okay, Plymouth were awful, absolutely awful. And if they keep playing that way, they'll be relegated without any doubt. But you still can't take everything away from the Town midfield suddenly working because, like you say, Matt, Joe Lowe, his physical limitations on the floor means he plays so deep that he drags everybody back 15 yards. I actually don't think this Town team can work long-term with Joe Lowe playing centre-back. I think his limitations affects what everybody else can do. Maybe if you change the other players over the summer or over January, it could work at that point. But the way Joe Lowe defends and attacks on the ball, or tries to start attacks, just hinders us, and other teams have worked that out. So when he does play, he's given the ball, and then we struggle and can't seem to create anything, and no midfielders are open, and it all falls apart. If Balka has any chance of playing, he has to start, because like you said, Matt, Lee Grant is still living game by game at the moment. Maybe it's 2 games now, having a couple of decent games, a couple of decent results against, Virtue and Plymouth. Maybe he's a little bit better now. But still, he needs to go out, and we need to win this game. So if Balka can potentially play, I'd play him, because if not, it's a much tougher game. But I'm expecting Joe Lowe to start, as you've mentioned, Matt, and just to look pretty similar to what we did previously. Like you say, we're going to go back to the long ball, because I don't think it'll show it. We won't show him midfield. Mansfield will be very well drilled. Clough will have them chasing down those midfield passing lanes, and it won't be as easy anyway, even if Balka is there. But you can't kind of counter a defender that can run it out 20 yards and then ping it 60 yards perfectly to go out wide. You can't really stop it too easily, but what you can stop is those passing lanes for centre-backs that are very, very stationary. Mansfield, though, are really poor in the air. So Stevenage probably put in the best performance at Mansfield, other than Doncaster, this season, and they did it by long throws and corners. It were all set pieces. So Joe Lowe coming in does offer us something in that regard, in the set piece-wise.
Yeah, well, not great in the air.
No, Matt, but they'll match big man on big man, and somebody else will be free because of it. So I still think there might be something there. I'm scraping the barrel here for a little positive in there, Matt, because I'm at 1908 Club tonight for a taster session.
Yeah, you don't want him to have you by the throat over the table, do you, Joe Lowe?
No, because he's a big bloke, and there's definitely
Joe,
ways.
if you're listening, get him.
If you never hear from me again,
force feed him a steak. That's what we want Joe Lowe to do. Get you over the table, force feed you a steak.
It's only because my father-in-law sponsors Balka. Let's just go down that angle instead.
Right.
So Balka has to play.
That's why we're appearing anti-Joe Lowe on this podcast. And Joe, I do like Joe Lowe. I just think it's just styles, isn't it? It's
not just styles of him, Matt. It's the rest of the team's makeup. It's why Lee Nichols isn't, for me, as effective in goal as Goodman is. In a different team, he'd be better. But that's what you get at the upper echelons of football. And I know League One isn't quite up there, but it still is when it comes to how tough it is to get to that level. And I just think Joe Lowe doesn't fit the system that Lee Grant's trying to get us to play, and the other personnel around him, as well as Balka does. But the other issue is, Matt, at the back, Mansfield aren't tall at all. They are tiny. for centre backs, that is. Jordan Bowery, the number 9 wearing centre back, has been dropped recently for Adeje. How do you pronounce his surname, Matt? Oshalaja.
Yeah.
And he's given away a penalty. He's had a pretty shocking game last time out at Northampton, and the Mansfield fans are quite surprised he's still getting picked over him. They refer to him being Cloughie's favourite rather than Bowery, who should have been in their mind.
Used to be a striker back in the day for Chesterfield. He's moved all the way back, and they were right back for ages as well. Was Jordan Bowery?
They're not happy that he's not playing because Mansfield are very weak in the air. But fortunately for them, we're not very strong in the air either up top in normal football. Although Radulovic, he's been on his stakes and he looks a little bit bigger. So maybe it's a day for him on Saturday. But it's an interesting one, this, Matt. It really is, because Mansfield, the next 5 games are against 5 teams in the top 10. Last year, remember, they started really, really well and then dropped away. They lost Keeler Dunn and everyone thought it'd be terrible. And I actually still have Mansfield. I had them beginning of the season looking at relegation certainties. I think they turned over 15 out and 14 in the summer, although one of them was Roberts coming back. So that's kind of a net equal, isn't it? But they're a team that, for me, over the next 5 games are going to struggle and are going to finish in the bottom 16 still, I think. Smaller squad, when injuries hit, they'll fall away. So this is a game where, if you want to be a playoff contender, once you get into 7 games in 22 days, you've got to get the win. So Town have to make something happen here, because this is one of those away games, Matt, where a draw is your bare minimum, but a win is what you kind of really need to kick on, especially considering the form we've been on up until recently.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way we think. So scores wise, Killer, do you want to go first? I think I went first last time.
Do you know what, Matt? We don't draw many games. If we did, or if we drew anywhere near as much as normal, I'd go a draw on this one. But I'm going for a 2-1 Town win. I think this 4-4-2 has changed the entire outlook of the team. But I'm just worried about the centre back and that midfield. If we don't have any midfield all of a sudden, people hiding again in there, not just Wilesley up top. If people are hiding there in that middle, I don't think we'll have a good day at all, and I think we'll be having a bit of a crisis podcast on Sunday. However, I'm going 2-1 win at the moment, Matt, and I'll go with a Joe Lowe goal just in case
just
I
to
see
make
him
us look
tonight.
like whoppers,
just in case I see him, and a Bojan Radulovic goal. I think big man might get another goal. 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going 1-1 with a goal for Dennis Bergkamp, and then that's what I fancy. I just think it's going to be one of those awkward, stodgy games. But I think Town have just got a little bit more about them in that shape at the minute to fight other teams. So I don't think we'll go down without a fight. And to be honest with you, a draw might not be a bad result, but you will only know if that's a good or a bad result depending on Tuesday against Luton. Because if they lose that one, then it's not, is it? So it might be one of those where, because of the run that we're coming up to, if Lee Grant can get off to a win, then that would set him on the right footing straight away for this tough run of games. If he loses or doesn't, then he's on the ice is melting a little bit under his feet, isn't it?
I think you've got to win one of these next 2 games. 4 points is fine from Luton and Mansfield away. That's what I think.
I mean, that'd be amazing, really, wouldn't it? 4 points from
that's the aim.
Where we've come from. Yeah,
but they'll still be, so as long as we don't lose on Saturday, we'll avoid a takes that chance meltdown on Sunday. But I think 4 points from the next 2 is a 7. Would it be an 8 out of 10? An 8 out of 10, I'd say, Matt. Then 4 points.
Good. Really good. Yeah, be good.
I think that's got to be at the aim, and I actually don't know which one's the easier game, to be totally honest.
No, because you're coming up against one team who are structurally better than the other, but the other have got more individual talent. So it's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one. So we won't be doing a driving, will we, for Luton? But we'll cover that maybe on Sunday when we do the main review. So that's it for the driving this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Remember to sign up for our Patreon, www.takesthatchance.com, because if you do, you can read that little articles like I wrote during the international break about why Town never get last-minute winners. Very frustrating. No longer the Scotland of international football, or similar. So that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back on Sunday for the review show. And keep your eyes peeled as well for the Town Social, which will appear at some point as well early next week.
Oh, what a night. Late in May in 2017, Schindler scored, it was a effing dream. What a feeling, what a night. Oh, what a night. Wagner singing, we are Premier League. The greatest sight St. George's Square did see. What an evening, what a night. Oh, I got a funny feeling when he walks and a fence, and then the commentator yelled he takes that chance. Oh, what a night, lost so safe and mesmerizing me. Low, low charge and flattened all Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, oh what a night. Whoa, I got a funny feeling when he walks and a fence, and then the commentator yelled he takes that chance.